Alright, it's Henry again, and this is going to be my work in progress video for the Master Grade p-bandai Altron Gundam EW, also known as Nataku, depending on how you like to call it. Anyway, this is just going to be a straight copy of the box art paint job. I am going to be doing some weathering on this kit though. I've always liked on the old 1:144 scale Endless Waltz kits. I remember the model kits in the manuals had this really dark, weathered look to them. Like, I don't think I see any actual chipping, but there is definitely some pre-shading and some pigment work going on. And it was just a very dark, moody, very emo kind of theme with the photos they did for those kits, which probably goes along well with the theme of Endless Waltz. But that's kind of what I wanted to replicate with this kit, is just do a dark, dirty, grungy, weathered paint job. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Not really going to be changing the colors up at all. I'm just going to be using the standard Nataku colors, and I'm going to use all the standard decals that Bandai gives us with the kit. And with that, I guess I'll just go ahead and start painting. So now that the main paint job is done, I am going to do a little bit of weathering on this kit, and I'm basically just going over everything with a wash of Mr. Weathering color, using black, because this green is pretty dark, so I figured the black would probably show up a bit better than the brown. And if you've ever seen me do a wash before, you know it's pretty simple. You just brush it on, wait a little bit, and then wipe it off. I used to wipe it off, like when I would do pin wash panel lining, I would use a Q-tip, but here lately I've been using a paper towel. I just find that it works a whole lot better. Kind of wonder why I haven't been using that all along. Because Q-tips get messy and they honestly don't do quite as good a job as a paper towel. Okay, so now I'm going to get started on the decals. Luckily, with this being a p-bandai kit, we do get water slide decals. Relatively small sheet. Honestly, I don't think it's quite as many decals as the Shenlong Gundam EW came with. We don't have any of the large XXXG decals, but we do have some Chinese characters here that go on the skirt armor and the shoulders. And I'm assuming that is the Chinese characters for Nataku. But yeah, pretty straightforward. Cut them out, dip them in water, and stick them on. Okay, so the next step is to do some dry brushing on Altron, and actually just finishing it up now. Got a little bit of pink, and I'm dry brushing on these arm segments for the dragon fangs. So I'm really liking the way that the paint job is turning out. It looks very dark, very grungy, very dirty. And it's really reminding me of that the manual art from the old Endless Waltz 1:144 scale kits back from the 90s. And that's really the look I'm going for, and I think I'm achieving that pretty well so far. So next step is chipping, and then we'll do a little bit of pigments and then top coat. Okay, now I'm in the process of doing the chipping. Usually I use a small paintbrush, but I decided to do something a little bit different this time around. I used a toothpick to do the brush chipping, or I guess quote-unquote brush chipping. So, got all the edges done, and now I've got a small sponge, and I'm going in and just doing some light sponge chipping. Don't want to get too carried away with the sponge at all. Very, very light. And this is just a mixture of gray and brown. Sort of do like a rusty steel color. And you get the idea. I think it's turning out pretty good though. And the last thing I'm going to do is do a little bit of weathering pigments on here. And I got some of these Mr. Hobby weathering pigment sets from Hobby Waves going out of business sale. And I got set 1 and set 2. They each come with 3 bottles of pigment. This one's got dark brown, sand, and light brown. And then set number 2 has charcoal black, light gray, and rust orange. It's a very, very bright orange. I'm thinking that might be a little bit too orange for rust, but either way, I'm not going to be doing any rust on these kits. In fact, I think I'm going to go with this sand color. So, going with the pigment powder and a brush. You can mix these with paint thinner. I've seen people mix them with like acrylic paint thinner and enamel paint thinner, and both of them seem to work well. It says on the box here to mix it with Mr. Color acrylic paint thinner. I'm sure Tamiya acrylic paint thinner would probably work just as well also. So dust this on. You can like mix the powders with the paint thinner, and that'll turn it into kind of a paste, and then I'll give you more of a muddy look. Or you can just dry brush it on like this, and then apply the paint thinner on later, and that will give you a dusty look, which is kind of what I'm going for. I'm not going to go over the entire kit with these. I really just sort of want to do the feet to show where it's been walking around in the dirt and dust and stuff. So mostly just around the foot area, maybe a little bit around the knees as well. And I've got this charcoal black. I might use that to do some soot on areas that might be getting like burned or something. So yeah. And before I get on to top coating, there's one other thing I wanted to show off. Something I don't usually show myself doing. It's actually really, really hard to show myself painting these, but these are the little pilot figures. And yeah, I can't paint these on camera, namely just because I have to have these things so close to my face, and it requires so much precision that doing it in front of a camera is basically guaranteeing that I'm going to screw up. So if I can get my camera to focus on it, I think that's about as good as it's going to get. Anyway, there's the little Wu-Fei in his Marimea costume. Flip this over. There's the sitting pilot figure. Just painted these with Mr. Color with a tiny paintbrush. Let's see. Here we go. This one right here. I think it's a 10-aught paintbrush. Very, very small. A lot of people use toothpicks to paint these, but I actually prefer using a tiny paintbrush. So yeah, just wanted to show those off. Okay, with the top coat on and final assembly finished, Nataku is finally done. And I'm fairly pleased with the way this turned out. It is a lot darker in tone than my usual paint jobs. Like up close, you really, it looks at least halfway normal, just really, really weathered. But like when I go across the room and look at it, the white parts don't even look white at all. They look like a dark gray color. It's when you step back away from it, it looks much, much darker than when you're up close like this. So really pleased with the way this turned out. And I mean, it's not perfect. There are a few things here and there that I think I could have done better. Namely, I think I just need to be more patient with my weathering. I feel like I tend to rush too much because I get to the weathering and it's like, oh, I'm in the home stretch. I want to get done with this kit. And I think I end up rushing with it, and I just need to learn to just sort of take a deep breath and step back and take my time with the weathering. I mean, it's getting better. My weathering, I think, is slowly but surely getting better, but it can still use some work. But overall, I mean, I'm being kind of critical here, but overall I'm pretty happy with the way this turned out. So, Altron Gundam, nice, dark, dirty. I'm kind of afraid there's like these dragon fangs right here are supposed to clip in right there onto this forearm armor, but I'm really afraid that's going to scratch the paint. Like I can feel it wanting to scratch, so I haven't clipped those all the way down yet. I don't know that I'm actually even going to. So, but overall that does it for this work in progress video, and I'll come back next and upload a video showing off like basically all the stuff that I did to it, and then a photo gallery. So with that, I'll see you guys next time.